So, hello then. Welcome back to another Night of the Movies podcast. I'm Spy Knight, and in these podcasts, I love talking on things, movies and TV, and whatever I want, wherever I want. And in today's podcast, I'm reviewing this new series, Your Friends and Neighbours. So, let's get into it, shall we? Your Friends and Neighbours is this new Apple TV Plus series starring Jon Hamm in the lead role, alongside Amanda Peet and Olivia Munn in big supporting roles. And I'll be honest, I had no interest in watching the show at all. But I was on Apple TV Plus one day looking for something to watch, and I saw Jon Hamm's face, advertised with the title of this show, and I thought, you know what? I like Jon Hamm, and this could be something. It might not be anything, but it could be something. So, yeah, let's give it a go, and that's exactly what I did. And the Google plot synopsis of the series goes as follows. After being fired in disgrace, a hedge fund manager, played by Jon Hamm in the series, resorts to stealing from his neighbours' homes in the affluent Westmont Village, only to discover that the secrets hidden behind the wealthy facades? It's not facades, it's facades. Sorry, I can never pronounce that word. Facades might be more dangerous. And that's pretty much all you need to know about the series before seeing it. And honestly, I really like this series. I mean, it does have its flaws, and I'll talk about the flaws a bit later on in this review, but I thought this was a solid series. I thought it was wildly entertaining. It has a surprise twist in every episode that I didn't see coming, and Jon Hamm makes it very watchable. I think if he wasn't the main lead of the show, I'm not sure I'd like the show at all, but the fact is, he is the main lead of the show, and I think he makes it work the most. Not to say the other performances are bad, not at all. I think everybody in the show is great, including Amanda Peet and Olivia Munn. And, Olivia Munn, I've watched some things in the past, and I haven't thought she's great in some of the things I've seen her in the past. Apart from Newsroom, I thought she was really good in Newsroom. But for the most part, when I watch her in something, I don't really like her in that. But in this show, she is, she's great. All the performances are great, but I think the thing that really makes it watchable and really makes it endearing is Jon Hamm's performance, which is endearing in itself. Plus, the show is well made, it's well produced. The first couple episodes were directed by Craig Gillespie. If you're not familiar with who Craig Gillespie is, he directed the likes of Cruella, which I think is one of the better Disney movies we've had come out over the past 5 years. He also directed I, Tonya, which is a brilliant film, and he directed some other stuff. He directed some episodes of Pam and Tommy, and I think they were the best episodes of Pam and Tommy which he directed. And he is meant to be directing the Supergirl movie next year, if I'm not mistaken. He's directed some other stuff in the past, but those are the things which come to mind if I on the top of my head right now. But yeah, he's an accomplished director. He's worked in Hollywood in the past, and I thought his episodes in particular were very well directed. That's not to say the other episodes are badly directed, not at all, but I think his episodes really stood out. I mean, he directed the first episode, and I was watching the first episode of the series thinking, okay, who directed this? Because this is really great. And then I saw Craig Gillespie's name, and I was like, oh, that makes a lot of sense. And I think he's also a producer on the show. And I thought the show was well directed overall. I thought that the storylines were all engaging, and the characters were really interesting. I do wish that some of the side characters were a little more fleshed out, but the show is jumbling a lot of storylines, and for what it does, it never feels messy. It's jumbling a lot of storylines, but it never feels messy, and it still manages to give each character their moment throughout the series. So yeah, I really liked this series. But it's not without its flaws. I do think, as I kind of alluded to just when I said the storyline is jumbling a lot of storylines, I do think there are one too many storylines in this show. I don't think you really need the kids' storylines. I understand why they're in there, but they were probably the least interesting storylines in this show, in my opinion. And yeah, I do think there are one too many storylines going on in this show. I wish it was a little more focused, because the show starts off showing a story about a man losing his job, and I was like, okay, this is interesting. And then about how all the people around him are not actually that nice people. They're not too nice. And then it goes into something about him stealing, which is talked about in the plot synopsis, and then it goes into a sort of whodunit, not to go into any spoilers, but then it goes into some sort of murder mystery, and I was like, okay. And then when there's this murder mystery going on, there's other stuff going on. It feels like perhaps there's a little too much going on. I would have liked the people behind the show to maybe cut down on the storylines just a little, and I would have liked there to be more polish as well, because sometimes the TV show doesn't quite hit you emotionally as well as it could do if there was more polish in the script and in the filmmaking at that. Not to get into the episodes badly directed, but there were certain moments in each episode I was like, oh, this would hit me more emotionally if it was established more early on in the series. So yeah, I don't think the series quite has the emotional punch that it wants to, and sometimes the voiceover narration from Jon Hamm, you know, for the most part it works. But there are some times where I was like, okay, you didn't need the voiceover narration here. You're getting the point across just in the scene alone. And I think it goes back to that whole thing, you know, show, don't tell. I think sometimes the series does a bit more telling and not showing. And I would prefer the other way around. That being said, there is a lot to like about this series, though. Like, the central family dynamic between Jon Hamm's character, Amanda Peet's characters, and their family, you know. The central family dynamic in the series is really what holds the series together. It's the glue that holds the series together, in my opinion. And you get some great dramatic scenes with the family in this show. And there's, you know, some kind of juicy, for lack of a better phrase, juicy drama in this series, which is also enjoyable to watch. And I liked how it showed that, you know, all these wealthy people, all these people that you think have their lives together and you think they're living on top of the world, well, they're not living on top of the world. They're all just faking it till they make it, which is a phrase that is quite literally said in this show. They're all just faking it until they make it. They're all just trying to hold it together, and actually all these wealthy people that you think are really nice and have it all together are the ones that might be struggling the most, and are the ones that are messing up their lives the most as well. And I really liked how this series explored that. And, you know, at the end of the day, I found the series wildly entertaining. Yes, it has its problems. I'm not going to sit here and say this. I'm not going to get to the end of this year and say, you know, Your Friends and Neighbours, which is a terrible name, by the way. Whenever I've spoken about the show with somebody, I'm like, what's it called again? Friends and Neighbours? He has Friends and Neighbours? Something Neighbours and Friends? I just don't really like the name for the show, but that's a lot of nitpick there. You know, when I get to the end of this year, I don't think I'm going to be saying this is one of my favourite shows of the year. I might be, but I don't think I'm going to be. However, it's wildly entertaining, and that's the thing which really worked. That's the thing which really made this show work for me. There's always a surprise in every episode that I didn't see coming, and I like shows that are unique and keep you on your toes, that you don't, you know, that have twists that you don't see coming. And nowadays it doesn't feel like we get a lot of those type of shows. Whilst Your Friends and Neighbours, yes, it will about its problems, but on top of everything, it's unique and it's different, and I really like that about it. Yeah, I really like this show. I wasn't sure if I was going to, but you know what? I thought it was worth a watch. And I'm looking forward to the second series. And so, all in all, I'm going to say that Your Friends and Neighbours, I'm going to say that it's I'm going to give it a 7.8 out of 10. I was about to give it a 7.5 out of 10, but I usually give something a 7.5 out of 10 if I think it's solid, but, you know, needs improvement. And I'm not saying the series doesn't need improvement. I'm hoping in the second series they get more in the emotional side of everything, and they sort of flesh out more side characters who may or may not return in the second series. But at the same time, I do think this is slightly better than solid, hence why I said this is a really solid series. I don't think this is just a solid series, I think it's a really solid series, hence why I gave it a 7.8 out of 10. I will admit, I was going into the last episode yesterday, sat down to watch it, and I sat down to watch the last episode yesterday, I was like, if this doesn't work, I'm not sure if I'm going to be if this last episode, the finale of this season of Your Friends and Neighbours, doesn't work for me, then I'm not sure if I'm going to be that positive in my view of this show. but the finale did work for me. Actually, I think the finale was probably the best episode in this season. I was watching the finale, I was laughing out loud, and I was shocked by some of the twists. And that's another thing. This series is very funny. It is really funny. In every episode, I would laugh out loud. And yeah, I think it's really well done. I think the emotional scenes work. I just think they could have worked better, but they do work. I think the characters are all interesting in their own ways. I think the storylines are all interesting in their own ways. And I think that the series overall makes for a very engaging watch. It's not without its flaws, as I've said quite a few times in this review today, but you know what? Every Friday I would look forward to watching an episode of Your Friends and Neighbours, and every Friday I wasn't disappointed. Well, sometimes I was a little underwhelmed, but I was never fully let down by an episode, because something happened in that episode that I just didn't see coming. And yeah, that ultimately made for a wildly entertaining watch. And so, all in all, as I've already said, and as I'm going to say once more in this podcast today, Your Friends and Neighbours is a 7.8 out of 10 from me. Anyway, guys, that's it for today's podcast. If you have seen Your Friends and Neighbours, please let me know your thoughts on it in the comment section below. And as always, thank you for watching or listening to this podcast. And if you haven't yet, please do click down below and like and subscribe on this podcast. And look forward to many more podcasts and many more videos coming very, very soon on this channel. As I already said, thank you so much for watching or listening to this podcast. And I will see you guys again soon. But bye for now. Bye.